Good morning, YouTube. And today I'm going to show you guys how to install door speakers on your Mk6 Volkswagen Jetta, one just like this. So let's get into it. All right. So here's the tools that you're going to need to do this. We opted to solder our connections to our speakers, which I'll get into within the video, but that basically just requires some basic solder and some tinning flux. You're going to need these two Torx bits, a T30 and a T20 for sure. I use butt connectors to attach the speakers to the car, which we'll get into that later. And we have a quarter wrench with some self-tappers, which once again we will get into later. You're going to need a pair of body panel tools to get the plastics off and to get the door panel off cleanly. A drill bit. This one is a Milwaukee 5/16, and that's going to be to take the rivets out of the door. You're also going to need a pair of wire strippers and a Phillips screwdriver, a pair of wire crimpers, a pair of dikes, and I have a punch and a hammer here. Everything will go over in depth in this video. So let's get straight into this, guys, and I'll show you how this is done. All right, so the first thing we're going to want to do here is we're going to get our body tools, right? And I told you guys there's a hidden bolt. So underneath of this panel right here is where this bolt is. So the easiest way to do this is to get right, and you need to be careful because this is plastic. There's little body clips underneath. There we go. And this sensor right here, you'll notice there's a piece of tape on the back of it. So it's designed to come out of this socket. So don't freak out on it if it does come out. That's like Audi's way of getting redundancy on when the plastic clips break. So you can just unplug that, toss it in the floor pan. That hidden bolt I was telling you about, it's right back underneath there, and that's that Torx T30. Honestly, it's a good thing that it's a Torx because you're less likely to strip it out, in my opinion. So we'll get some tools and get that out of it. So we just want to take our Torx bit, slide it in there. Oh yeah, we're going to use power tools. All right, and there's our bolt. Now you're going to want to switch out to your T20 Torx that we talked about earlier. And there's a bolt right down there. You take that one out. All right, now we need to grab those trim tools again. And you're going to find it's easiest to start in this corner and just walk it down like that. And you're going to have another bolt right here. Now we got to grab our T30 again, and let's remove it. Before you get too far, you're going to want to remove this little panel right here. It's another one of those hidden screws. All right, so for this next part, you're going to need to grab that body panel tool. Now there will be tabs all the way around the outside of this door panel, so let's get those off. And then you guys can do yours. You're going to want to grab this door trim right here. You're going to want to pull it back just a little bit, right up over that seal. And that's going to give you the ability to see back behind here. See these little dimples right there. You see them? You're going to want to try to get the body tool in where the body clips are so you can pop them loose, reuse them later. So, I do stress to be careful. This is all plastic. Alright, so now that we got all the bolts out, so we should just be able to pop this off. Alright, so what you're going to have back there, oh that came off easy. You're going to have your door latch cable, that needs to come off. You're going to have another button back here. So you're going to have the door lock switch here on this particular model. There's a button right underneath of the tab. You just got to push that. And there's your door panel, intact. A little dirty because prior owner can't clean his car, but fully intact. So the next thing we got to do down here is we're going to disconnect the door speaker itself. That pulls out of there. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 rivets. All 4 of those rivets have to be drilled out. So we got Corey here. I'm going to have Corey do this, which he has never done this before. All right, Corey. Set the drill square onto each rivet. All right, drill those out. And this is definitely one of those cases where you don't want to go full bore, you just want to go slow, medium speed. There you go. Pull that little tab off and move on to the next one. And all you're trying to do here is you're just trying to take the top layer of the rivet off. There you go. Oh, there it is. Perfect.
Yep, I was gonna say, I think I'm getting it.
And now we should just be able to walk the speaker right off. And that is how you uninstall a door speaker on a Mk6 Jetta. Now how do we reinstall it? Let's get to that. Alright, so you're going to install these JBL JX628s. You can get these at your local Best Buy. These are actually a really good speaker because they're not going to out-demand what your amp is. And I think Corey could probably explain this better than anybody else. Like, how does that work exactly? Like, these are 60 watts RMS,
yeah.
180 max.
Power. Yeah, that's about the general rule. If it's max power 180, usually your RMS is going to be about half of what the max power is. And RMS is like what the power can actually take.
Okay, so how would I go about knowing like what's too much or what's not enough? Could I have a speaker that's underpowered and cause my amp to blow?
If this is 60 watts RMS and you put it on 20 watts RMS, you'll blow it way faster than you will put 180 watts to it.
So it's better to have a little bit higher power speaker than it is to have
underpower it. Yeah.
Underpowered.
Underpowered will blow your speakers faster than overpowered them. That's a big misconception, but it will.
Gotcha. See, this is why we have Corey around, because he understands more of the tech side of things. So let's get these unboxed here and see what they actually give us. You want to do it, Corey?
Oh, fuck yeah.
All right. I think he also said he spent like about $150 on the set of these. We got some seals, it looks like, here, so that'll be good. We got instructions that we're not going to need. There's one, man. Those actually look really, really nice. Let's see. Yeah, open one of those things up. They send us these little rings. We're probably not going to use these in this application, but these would be great in many other applications. Say you're putting these in your C10 Chevy pickup. And we don't need that surround ring either. Those look so good. What is that, titanium woofers? Better than these paper ones, that's for sure.
So your first difference is this is a paper cone versus this is a non-paper cone, so you're going to get 10 times better sound out of this already.
Oh yeah, it's going to be much crisper, I'm sure.
Yeah, man.
So one first problem that you're going to see off get is you're going to notice that, well, that's round. That's round, right? But that's one big piece, and it's a speaker. What else are you going to do with it? Obviously, we can't just bolt it in the car. So what we're going to need these are METRA 827803. These are to put in your Accord, Civic, and Volkswagen. I'm not kidding. That says Accord, Civic, and Volkswagen. Yeah.
I don't think I know you don't need them in a 98 Civic. Maybe an Accord, and maybe some of the newer Civics, like when you go into it goes all the way to 07, but I've worked on a lot of 90s Hondas, and I know you don't need those on a 90s.
Yeah, that thing would just go into a Honda.
You go right in on a fucking Civic. I'd bet my fucking house on it.
Yeah. So we're going to open these up, get these installed. All right, so now that Corey's got the speaker uninstalled, the next biggest thing that we're going to have to deal with is we got to get the remnants of these rivets out here. Kind of tricky. But with a good drill bit and a little bit of patience, these will easily come right out. All right, so I had to take a quick break here. I wanted to figure out the easiest way to get these rivets out. To get these rivets out, I already got these two out. What I recommend doing is we're going to go back to our larger drill bit, and what we're going to do, slowly drill the tops of these rivets off. I got a little punch here, which you can get at your local Harbor Freight. There you go. Knock it right out. We're going to do the same thing again down here. Tap. And if you bend these ears a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Just take a pair of pliers here, pull them straight. Something like that. Done. Pretty straightforward. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to install these rings. We're going to cut these little divots off here, and that's because there's no lineup holes on the door. Remember, these things say like 98 to 2007.
Civic, Volkswagen, Accords.
Yeah, these are super universal. We're just going to take those little divots off here. All right, so before we get too much farther into this, I noticed that the one thing none of this stuff has, and the biggest problem that a lot of people are going to overcome, is don't have this type of plug right here, which, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to show you guys how to get around that. I'm going to teach you guys how to solder. Well, maybe not teach you, but I'm going to show you at least how I get around them. Sweet, simple, to the point, guaranteed connection, never have to worry about it. All right, so first things first here. In order to do this soldering, we're going to need a little bit of wire. So we're going to pull about that much off right there. Not a lot, but not too much. You want to take that, Corey? And then we're going to use these handy dandy wire strippers from 1902. Split your wire. And want to split it about 1.5 inches or so. Find the hole that fits in there. Actually flip it around. There you go. And squeeze. You used the wrong hole. Find a smaller hole. You can find a set of these at your local Harbor Freight, AutoZone, Snap-on dealer, and go ahead and do that to the other end. While Corey's taking care of that, if you like this video and it's helping you install speakers in your Mark 6, make sure to smash that like button. And if you want to see more content on to help you with your VAG love, make sure to smash that subscribe button to get notified of all the content that we put out. And don't worry if you have a little bit too much. Oops. So to get started here, you should take a little bit of your tinning paste and just put a little bit on there like so. Okay. And you take your iron. And what I like to do is I like to tin my terminals. What this is going to do is make it a lot easier down the road to put our wires on. Like so. Okay. Twist your wires like so. And just dip them in the tinning paste. You know, a lot of this newer solder I think has rosin in it, so you really don't have to do all this. We'll just come in here. We're just gonna tin these wires like so. Soldering iron's kind of junk. It's getting old. I need to put a new tip on. Probably should clean it better too. There you go.
6.5 hours later.
Alright, now we got that one tinned. If you pre-tin it, you can do this a lot easier one-handed. One done. There you go. Terminals. They're never going to come off. Oops. Then all we do is install the door speaker. Now we're not going to worry about this end right now because we're going to take it off the car. Now what I would recommend is these are labeled positive and negative here. Always use the same color code through the entire car so that you don't get yourself confused. And now let's go get this installed. So we're going to make a small modification to this because if you look at these ones, you notice how your terminal, everything comes in right here through the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little hole right here in the top of this after we orient this to the car so we know where to put our hole at. So let's do that real fast. Alright, so here's what we got. These little factory clips here, they kind of suck. There's a lip on the back here, and these aren't designed for that lip one bit, and we don't want to do any cutting. So instead, I took some Clecos that I have here to hold this in place for me, and we're just going to use a couple self-tapping screws to hold this in. We will use 4 of them, and I'm going to run them relative to where the factory screw holes already are. Now you could re-rivet this in if you had the proper size rivets. I do not have the proper size rivets here at the house, so we're not going to do that. Instead, we're just going to use some 1/4 inch long self-tapping screws, and they'll hold just fine. So let's do that. On a side note, these are called Clecos. They work really good. If you got a little hole or you're trying to hold a body panel on, you can just rivet or anything along those lines. You just push this in and you let it go, and these little prongs here will pop right out and hold stuff in place for you. So you remember how I was saying earlier with the the new door speakers, we don't have a factory style plug. So what we're going to do to get around that is you're going to take your drill bit that you drilled your rivets out with, and you're going to put a little hole right up here. Like so. And you guessed it, we're going to funnel our wires right through there, trim these off, and put the two together, and there we go. We'll have an installed door speaker. Alright, now we got to get this plug to this harness. Now there are a few different ways. They make these little blade connectors that you can stick on here and you can pop them in there. And I'm sure someplace out on the internet there's probably a wiring harness that's made to go to aftermarket speakers to this plug. But we don't have those. So what do? Well, you're going to cut this plug off of here and trim them off to make them look just like this. This is the positive side, this is the negative side. 2. So I'm going to take these little button connectors that I have, and instead of soldering these connections together just to make my life easier down the road, or if somebody ever buys this car and wants to upgrade to a better speaker, they don't have to go in here and try to unsolder these connections. These will work great, easy installation. You can buy these at any AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts. And you just want to take your 2 wires and twist them together. If you have a little bit of excess that you notice it's not twisted together, I always like to just trim off just a little bit. And I use these, I have these little wire crimpers here. I always try to recommend going all the way up your crimping zone. That way you know you've got a nice solid connection. And there you go. Your door speaker's installed. Just tuck those off to the corner here. If you want to take a zip tie, you can wrap it up around there so that it stays to the harness. Not a necessary requirement. And these JBs do not have directional controls on them, so don't try to move them. You will break it. And that's it. Now we're going to stick the door panel back on and give it a test. Correction. We're going to test the speaker first and then stick the door panel back on. So Cora, you want to do the honors? Gotta take the door panel all the way back off. Don't start it. Well, we are inside and trying to listen to the radio here.
Lighting. See stores for details.
Assuming you're not under house arrest, here's some cool stuff to add to your to-do list with the art.
It works. All right. Don't be alarmed if you're doing this indoors and you're playing the radio and you got a bunch of static. It works. So putting the door panel back on is pretty much just an exact reverse of taking it off. You got all your clips and everything that need to go back in. This harness right here, you're going to want to make sure that you fish it through this little hole so that it'll go back up in there. This one plugs into the back of your door lock, like so. Cable here will go clip back in there.
Remember this panel that we took off, there's a little tab right here in the corner. You got to make sure to pop that in, and then this will just push right up in there for you.
All right, well, I hope that explains exactly how to install your speakers in your Mk6 GTI. All right, guys, well, I hope that answered all your questions. And if there's anything I missed or anything more you'd like to know about, make sure to let me know in the comments below. I love to interact with you guys, and I love to talk to everybody out there who watches what I'm doing. Everything that we went over, even these speakers here, will be in the link in the description below, so you have access to all of this stuff, along with the METRA, the JBL speaker sets. So make sure to smash that subscribe button to get notified of all the latest content that we put out. We are a VAG Life family on this channel, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again. Oh, also, if you want to know how to do the back doors, check the link in the card here. I'll put it over here someplace. You guys can learn how to do the back speakers in your Mk6. See you next time, guys.